We're going to fight these tariffs with countermeasures. We are going to protect our workers, and we are going to build the strongest economy.
He's going to have to explain it to me. Wait a second. If other countries are going to fight the tariffs to protect their workers, then why in the hell can America not protect our workers? Why is it okay for the entire world to not want to be tariffed? But when America stands up and says, hey, tariffs are hurting our workers, it's hurting our country, and we want it to be on a level playing field, it's not okay. What is going on?
Look, I think the president's doing the right thing. China has been taking advantage of us for two decades. They're stealing our intellectual property, which means stealing our good-paying jobs. And I, frankly, am closer on this issue, not on many, but on this issue with President Trump than I was with Presidents Bush or Obama, because they did nothing to tell China off. Now, China, of course, will respond. But if they know we're strong and we're not going to back off, they will back off. They have far more to lose than we do. They have a $300 billion trade surplus with us.
Guys, welcome back to Starkey Forum Said. So my name is Samantha, and I'm fixing to break this down to you. If you didn't know, YouTube stole my money for bringing up videos and topics like this. They don't want this out there. They'd rather me discuss, well, something that's a lie. So if you'd like to support more thought-filled educational videos like this, look in the top of comments. There are 4 ways you can donate and sow into this ministry. Liberals and Democrats, you've been brainwashed, because here is Nancy Pelosi explaining why we need to tariff China.
Is a job loser. And one of the reasons that it is because in order, well, first let me just make another point, and that is that our colleagues on the other side of this issue will say the trade with China, exports to China have increased 3 times in the last 10 years. They have. But they fail to mention that imports from China have increased 11 times, thereby leading to this huge trade deficit. The other issue, in addition, if intellectual property is a $2 billion, $3 billion loss, technology transfer is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. If you want to sell to China, your products into China, the Chinese insist that you open a factory there. They misappropriate your technology, open factories of their own, and then say to you, now we want to see your plan for export.
Want me to tell you what has changed since 1998 when old Nancy Pelosi did that little clip, and today? Her pocketbook. Did you guys know that the CCP actually wines and dines state governors across America every single year? They have a governor's convention supported and paid for by the Chinese Communist Party? Yes, that is true. Something else most of you don't know, that 40% of the companies that export out of China are actually owned by the Chinese government. Here's something else I bet you didn't know. These tariffs are going to hurt China way worse than they will America. Now, am I saying you're not going to get a little pinch and need to tighten up your belt, friends? Not at all. If you're in a lot of debt and you've invested in the stock market, you might feel it a little more than the rest of us who just live within our means. But for the most part, this is going to hurt China so much more than it will America.
And I bring China down to its knees. It's undisputed that the U.S. is the best country in the world to do business with. We are a tried and true trusted consumer base. The U.S. is a purchaser of almost 40% of all the consumer goods on earth. Being in the U.S. market is the holy grail for worldwide business operators. The U.S. accounts for 25% of all the world's wealth, and our economic strength cannot be overstated. And corporations don't care about politics. They just go wherever the money is, and that place is America. Now, with China being a pseudo-communist capitalist country, businesses are too intertwined with the government. If a business fails, it's because the government allows them to. All the business fails, the government fails. Essentially, it's like the government has to pay for these tariffs out of pocket. In order for the Chinese government to continue to operate, they must export these goods. That's where all their cash flow is contingent upon. After the 125% tariff reveal, China's market crashed. 5,000 different stocks dropped, with almost 3,000 of them reaching their daily decline limit. Meaning that they lost so much value that they had to turn off these stocks for trading for the day because they were afraid people would panic and sell off.
President Trump is literally going to bankrupt China. I know he said it's 125% tariffs, but actually it's 145% tariff because there's a 20% tariff on their fentanyl that they keep shipping into our country, killing our citizens. So the greatest thing that President Trump did was say, look, you've got a $300 billion surplus you're sitting on of U.S. money because the trade deficits in our tariffs. So we're going to even it out. And if you don't want to ship your goods with that much of a tariff on there, then you don't get to ship anything. Meaning China is going to go bankrupt. They've got all these goods they can't get into America. During that period of time, what is going to happen to you? You're going to need to learn how to grow a little bit of food, people. We've been telling you that since COVID. Not to mention, you might not be able to shop on Temu. Oh, what a shame. Can't get your toxic products in. What is going to happen? American manufacturing is going to come back. It may take a year. It might take 2. But what you're going to see is higher paying jobs for American citizens because the entire world rotates around our economy. So while you're hearing all these Democrats cry and scream, remember this clip.
Look, I think the president's doing the right thing. China has been taking advantage of us for two decades. They're stealing our intellectual property, which means stealing our good-paying jobs.
I will not endorse the status quo. The lack of market access, the rip-off of our intellectual property, the transfer of technology, a country that is not willing to play by the rules in any respect in this trade relationship. You have a serious threat not only to our relationship, but to the industrialized world.
Further, what they have said is that we need to not worry about manufacturing in America because what we should establish is a policy of unfettered free trade. We don't need tariffs. What we need is to allow corporate America the freedom to throw American workers out on the street, people who are making 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour, healthcare, pensions, throw them out on the street because somehow, Madam President, we are going to create wealth in America and good paying jobs in America as we shut down plants, we move to China, corporations there pay workers 20, 30 cents an hour, and we bring the product back into this country.
It's also proper for advanced economies like the United States to insist on reciprocity from nations like China that are no longer solely poor countries, to make sure that they're providing access to their markets and that they stop taking intellectual property and hacking our servers.
Subsidizes, doesn't play by the rules, and cheats. I say to him, when are we going to do something on China? Oh, we're going to do something tough. And each time there's a different excuse. This should have happened in the first 2 months of the administration. It hasn't. So, because of the Republican inaction, because of the president's unfulfilled and rapidly becoming broken promise on being tough with China, Senate Democrats will be sending a letter to President Trump and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross demanding that the administration keep its promise to crack down on China's unfair and predatory trade practices. Now, one would introduce another resolution that would put a halt on all of Donald Trump's global policies. The letter I'm sending, the resolution we passed dealt with Canada. This deals with all of the global tariffs. I'm very proud to co-sponsor this legislation. The Senate has the power and authority to stop this madness, and we have a duty to act in a bipartisan way to repeal these tariffs.
Schumer 8 years ago, and that was Chuck Schumer 8 days ago. This is what Trump derangement syndrome does. It makes you stupid. It also makes you forget that some people like myself like the truth, and we're going to go dig up your old statements about how Chinese tariffs are killing American manufacturing when people wanted you to say it. Now people want you to claim that Trump's tariffs are somehow going to hurt You, the American people.
I'm looking out, number one, for jobs. You know, if General Electric moves jobs to China, they're not unhappy, but my New York workers in Schenectady are unhappy. And so you can't let the international business companies who don't give a hoot about where their factories are govern this. You have to do it.
If you believe that, you need to seriously learn how to pick a book up and read it. What hurt America was when we decided to be globalized. When we started caring about what was happening overseas and not about what was happening here, folks. There used to not be an income tax because of the tariffs on other people's goods coming into our country. Make America healthy again. Make America wealthy again. Make America great again actually has a purpose. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy watching this, well, millennial liberal with his illogical explanation.
At the end point, we are at the point we knew we'd get to. MAGA has been selfish. MAGA has been unkind. MAGA has come after everybody's rights, but there has always been a point that would be reached where their decisions started to affect them. And only then would they understand what they've done, because they couldn't care less about anybody else. And you can have the Fox News pundit and the diehard cult MAGA followers say and spin whatever they want to say and try to spin about this, calling the stock market overinflated previously, saying it's a good thing it's going to crash, throwing retirees under the bus who don't have time to re-earn it. Time. They don't have time, if you understand that. But the end game is here. And we always told you electing an idiot would have consequences. And now you're going to see them in real time.
Back into the United States. So we are exporting not low-tech jobs and textile jobs. We're exporting our technology. Now, if you take a country the size of China, with the very cheap, and in some instances, slave labor, the lack of market access, the rip-off of our intellectual property, the transfer of technology, a country that is not willing to play by the rules in any respect in this trade relationship, you have a serious threat not only to our relationship, but to the industrialized world. And if there's one message that I want our colleagues to understand today and our constituents, is that on this day, your member of Congress could have drawn the line to say to the President of the United States, do something about this U.S.-China trade relationship that is a job loser for the United States. And this brings us to the point that others have said, well, we can't isolate China. Do you think for 1 minute that with 10 million jobs at least, and 35 billion and be over $40 billion this year in a trade surplus, all those billions of dollars in surplus, that the Chinese are going to walk away? Where are they going to take 35 to 40% of their exports? Who's going to buy them? This is what sustains the regime.
Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think it's a transition to greatness.